All right. This is our Veterans Day meeting. As you guys know, Veterans Day is Thursday next week. So we chose this meeting for our theme. Let's start out our meeting today with any announcements. Who's got some announcements? Mike?
Yesterday was Susan Romanow's birthday,
Oh,
and we have a birthday cake back here. So get yourself a piece of birthday cake. Happy birthday, Susan.
Got the good birthday voice. We have to sing. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you.
happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Susan. Happy birthday to you.
We are not going to win any awards for good voices today. But anyway, Ingrid.
Yes, we have one announcement, real quick leftover from the polio club. We're still waiting for the 4 candles to come in, so sorry for the slight delay on the candles with the polio club. I am just remembering those folks, and we appreciate your donation, so do not forget. And Pete has a quick announcement about what he'll be doing with the polar bear. So Pete, after you both get done dancing, please.
Good morning. Use the mic. I don't think I need it. I am the perennial chairman of the Polar Bear Golf Outing Committee. Once again, I volunteered. And our next polar bear event will be February 5th of this coming year. And I would like to help on my committee for 2 reasons. One is I need help in social media, reaching out to other golfers outside of Rotary to find to play. And number 2, to raise money for raffle items, for the restaurants and golf stores and golf outings and things that we can give away for the raffle. So we'll be having a meeting in this location next Friday at 7 a.m. Anyone who likes to be involved, thank you.
Right. Yes.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to let you know that there's some interest in starting a satellite club. This would be a cocktail hour club in probably either Bridge Park or Old Dublin. And I figured there'd be some interest in this club for maybe some members that might want to participate. Or if you have any sons or daughters that would like to join Rotary, but maybe in a light way, that would be a great opportunity for them. So please let me know if there's any interest in any club members or your family members that might want to do that. Thank you.
What's a satellite club?
A satellite club is kind of a subset of a Rotary club. The dues are much less. I think it's $50 a year instead of $120 a year. And it's really up to the satellite club what they want to do. There should be some service aspect to it, a lot of social aspect to it. But other than that, they can kind of design whatever they want to do. Don't need to have speakers, could have speakers, could have occasional speakers, meet every other week, meet every week, whatever they want to do.
What kind of bourbon now?
You know, anything you want. Michter's, I think, is the one of choice.
Thanks, Wolf. That's a really interesting idea, and I think it would be a great way for us to, we could pop in, right? You could,
Yeah.
like, be a member of the satellite club, but also this club kind of.
Dublin Worthington also had some interest in maybe even forming a women's group, so that might be the same or a different.
Very good. All right, Susan.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to announce and remind everyone that December the 2nd is our holiday party, and it's going to be here at the club. And we're going to do a white elephant gift. So invitations are going to be coming out very quickly. We'll also be sending out a link to donate for the adoptive family for Salvation Army. Our shoppers are out shopping already, and we're getting a lot of great buys, and they're having fun shopping. So I want to thank everybody for doing that in advance. I also just want to remind people that need vodka, that bought vodka, that haven't picked it up. I don't have it in my car today because I have the kids' car, but I will have it next week at my office, or I will be happy to get it delivered to you. Just let me know.
Susan, how many families do we buy for?
Well, I think it's individuals.
Individuals?
We will be buying for 25.
So 25 individuals will benefit from our efforts.
So we
thank you
need
so
to
much.
raise $3,000 at least. And what we're going to also do is to make sure that we get grocery cards for all these different families, so they have money to buy food during the holidays.
Thank you. I think somebody said it's 50 days to Christmas. Is that right? All right, Roberta.
I joined another club. Do more work, but called Altrusa, and it was formed when Rotary, around the time Rotary was formed, started, because Rotary wouldn't let in women, so it's all women. And the Columbus Club focuses on donating their monies to literacy and boys and girls clubs and things like that. So once, a couple times a year, they have fundraisers just like we do. And I am helping them by selling nuts. They're 1 pound packages and they range from $11 to $13. And you can give me your order, I can give you the link, and you can order them yourself, but I prefer to know who's buying them. So if you could order them from me, it would be great. And I'm assuming they'll come in, well, it says the end of November, beginning of December, so not in time for Thanksgiving. But if you could order a couple packages of nuts and make me a star, that would be awesome. So thank you.
Let's help Roberta out. Okay, any other announcements? One announcement would be that the cake is being served over there, so if you guys want to sneak over during the presentation, that's all fine and good.
Please do.
Oh, one more thing.
Sorry. There's pecans, mixed nuts, English walnuts, toasted salted cashews, and sliced almonds. And I gotta tell you, the cashews are awesome.
Very good. All right, and now I'd like to introduce Sergeant at Arms, Dave Williamson.
Good morning, Rotary.
Good morning, Dave. Morning, Dave.
All right. Crowd. Let me tell you, we got a few guests here today, so I'm going to start with that right off the top. And Dwight Seeley has a guest.
Happy to welcome Skylar Burgess, Managing Director of Deloitte and Board Member for Network Ohio.
United States Air Force Colonel.
United States
retired.
Air Force Colonel, retired.
I just had to add it. All right. Cap Clegg, are you online? Well, Cap, if you're not online, you got a guest here. Where's Lisa?
Right here.
Lisa's right back here. Lisa Travis, go ahead.
Your role as assistant pastor.
I'm a pastor at Mystic Community Church here in Dublin, so thanks for having me this morning.
Okay. Some people would tell you we need some pastoral help. Susan, you have some guests.
I do. I'd like to introduce everyone to my 2 grandsons, Declan, who's 6, and Liam, who's 2. All right.
All right, well, lots of things have happened. Did you know today in history, a couple important things happened in 2000 and let's see, 1941, the Japanese Imperial government issued the order to bomb Pearl Harbor today, to go out to its fleet. So militarily and historically, we can see when the Pearl Harbor was about to begin. In 2009, you all remember the U.S. Army shooting major that killed 13 people down at Fort Hood? Yeah, that happened today. And 1912, Woodrow Wilson won a landslide election. Those kind of things, that's kind of a bummer history, actually. But to save it all, you know what today is? Who knows? National Donut Day. You are safe. Everybody else is a dog. Good job. It's also, for those of you that didn't know, today is National Love Your Red Hair Day. And in my earlier years, I would have loved that day. I did have red hair, as a matter of fact. If you don't believe it, ask me to show you the picture. She carries it in her wallet. Okay, Rotary protocols in effect also, ladies and gentlemen, meaning that you have to do two things. You must have your pin on and you must have your name tag on. If you're missing either one, keep adding to the dollar. So our small pot today in the raffle is $20. Our large pot is $417. So. Okay. No, you're gonna draw.
All right.
Okay, here's the first ticket drawn, and this person has the option to either go small or large pot. So the last four, 9, 3, 5, 5. 9, 3, 5, 5. Back in the back, you have the option. Small pot or large pot? I'm sorry, give it to who? All right, adopt the family. Congratulations. All right. Mr. Stivers, would you draw a ticket and read the last four?
The last four
Loudly.
are 9399.
9399.
Oh,
Who else wins? All right. I'll be there shortly. Back to you, Madam President.
Okay, did I miss another announcement? Oh, geez. Oh, my gosh, this is kind of fun. We're doing a member-to-member spotlight, and somehow I skipped right over it, but today we get to be introduced to Linda Cochran and my counselor.
Ready, friend?
We're
Okay,
ready.
we didn't follow the instructions very well. We just actually got together and enjoyed our conversation, so we don't have much to say.
Well, we could have spent a lot longer together, but it was actually his anniversary that night.
And she had a play to get to, so we only had one drink. Okay,
Yes.
so Linda is from Buffalo. She went to Buffalo State. She was a special education teacher for 30 years. She came to Dublin, and her very first friend that she met in Dublin was her neighbor, Susan Robinoff, who had a daughter who was the same age. And we have another really good friend in common that also had a daughter that was the same age. Her daughter's name is Shayna. And Shayna just got married on September 11th. And this is, I think, the best thing. So her daughter and her son-in-law are just moving along the Eastern Seaboard, traveling from place to place. They both work in pharmaceuticals. They're both working remotely due to the pandemic. So they're just like living different places to decide where they want to settle, which is kind of fun for young people. Linda is totally into theater. She's been into theater for a long time, and she is part of the Butterfly Guild that supports Nationwide Children's, and she produces their big fundraiser play every year. It is Cinderella this year, and this effort raises like 200 nets, like $200,000 for the hospital, and all of that goes to palliative and hospice care. So she's been doing it for a long, long time, and obviously does a lot. Something really interesting is that early in her career, and this is actually how she met her husband, she booked comics in comedy clubs, which had to be pretty darn interesting. Her favorite place is Mykonos. And I asked her about how she's enjoying her time in Rotary. She was our Rookie of the Year last year. She's been a Rotary now for a year and a half-ish. And she said she really enjoys doing the stuff. Like Linda's a doer, so she likes to like have something that she can do to meet people and to get stuff done. So that's Linda.
Thank you.
You probably all know Mike better than I do. He's been in Rotary for 7 years, our president this year. He grew up in Canton, which there's so many Canton people here. I know nothing about Canton because I grew up in Buffalo. So we talked about it a little bit. We talked about Canton. He met his wife Heather in Canton. I think you went to high school together, right?
Yes.
And they've been married for 26 years.
28.
Oh, sorry. They came to Ohio to go to Ohio State University, where Heather and Mike both went. And Mike has an MBA in business. And he has 2 sons, Luke and Mitchell, who both also went to Ohio State University. And we know that Luke is very musical and got to dot the I this year at Ohio State. So I'm from a town that college football was not a big deal. We didn't have any. And it is just extraordinary to me how much people are into Ohio State football here. You know? So one of Mike's favorite things is going to Ohio State football games. Never misses a game. Rain, snow, sleet, loves the tailgating. Had to get up really early the next day after we met because they were going to do an early morning tailgate. And so that's one of really fun things for him. Both his sons graduated together in May of this year. So Mike works for Visa, and the only thing that I know about Visa is that every single day I use my Visa card to buy something. So, he kind of comes from a musical family, and I asked him if he could do anything that he doesn't do well, what would he like to do? And he said he'd like to be able to play the piano really well, which I've always wanted to do that too. He loves to travel. One of his favorite places he's been to is Barcelona. And one of his favorite places in the States is in North Carolina at Ocean Isle Beach, which you go to every year. You go there? Pretty much. And also try to go to Florida in the winter time, which we all like to do at Anna Maria. Right? Anna Maria? Sanibel. So I asked him, the other thing I asked him was, is there anything special like you would like to do like in your life that, you know, as time goes on? And he said someday he would really like to be able to do something with his sons, like some kind of a business or an opportunity where they could work together to help other people in some way, which I found really special. So that's my way.
All right, thanks, guys. It's so good to get to know you guys that much better. Now we're going to have Dave Williamson come up and introduce our guest speaker. Oh, okay. All right, Dave.
Well, to many of you, this gentleman needs no introduction. He's been around for a long, long time. Former member of our club. He's been a United States representative for over 12 years.
11.
11
I
years?
quit, so 11. I didn't make
11 years.
it. I was elected to 6 terms, but didn't serve this last one out.
Okay, there's half the introduction. you know, he's a dynamo. He's always been a dynamo. When he was in this club, he was very active and involved in a lot of the activities that we did, starting the club and some of the major programs, but he's also been very active for the community. Everybody knows Steve from his contributions as a district. But he's also a member of the United States Army Reserve, where he's a major general in the Army Reserve and served obviously in Iraq and Iran and countries all around there, I think he did. But he's been a tremendous asset to this community, and he continues to be a tremendous asset to this community in his contribution now as executive director of the Columbus Chamber of Commerce. So I want to give a warm Rotary welcome to General Steve Stivers.
Thanks, Dave, and don't go too far. I'd like all the veterans to come up and take a bow. I know there's other veterans here, Mike Close. All the veterans, come on up. Will, can you bring me my coins? Some of my coins, and I hate to admit, I still have my Brigadier General coins because I had a bunch of those left. So I'm giving those out. We should have about 10. Hopefully we have enough. We're close. I brought 10 just to be safe. So I wasn't sure how many veterans there'd be.
Thank you,
I figured
sir.
I'd be safe giving 10 of them out. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your service. Thank you. Colonel, thanks for your service. You were a pilot. That's more important. Cool. Hey, thanks. Thank you. Let's give these veterans a big round of applause. So this is your Veterans Day meeting. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about veterans and what they've done and why it's important to recognize veterans. And that's why I wanted to start by recognizing the veterans in your club. There are veterans all throughout this country, and some of them have visible wounds from their service. Some of them have invisible wounds from their service. I'll talk a little more about that later. But there's a lot of great organizations. In fact, Dwight runs an organization that helps veterans. There are a lot of veterans that need help, whether they need help with the job or they need help with some healthcare or some transitions. And it's great that our country and many of our citizens come together and do those things to help folks. So I thought I'd start with the Soldier's Creed, which, you know, to the Air Force guys, I apologize, but it's, I think it's important to read the Soldier's Creed. It kind of speaks to the kind of selfless service that our veterans give to our country. It says, I'm an American soldier, I'm a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values. I will always put the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. I'm disciplined, physically, mentally tough, trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills. I will always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself. I'm an expert and a professional. Did I do something wrong? Okay. I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States in close combat. I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life. I am an American soldier. Now, obviously, there are sailors, airmen, and Marines, and I don't want to, but I'm a soldier, so that's why I read the Soldier's Creed. But, you know, folks and I don't want to leave the Coast Guard out either. All the folks that have given service to our country really live those kind of values. They put other people first. It's a contract they sign in blood that can unfortunately be paid in blood. They deserve our thanks and our support when they get home. And sometimes when they come home, as I said, they need help. And lots of times they, oops, see if I can figure out how to do this. No, the space bar didn't work, but maybe this one. Nope. All right. No, there it did. Okay. So, and one of the things they sometimes need help with is getting a job. That's why I was real involved a couple of years ago in passing something called the Hire at Home Act, which helped make sure that our veterans could get jobs easier, but it also made sure that they got credit for the military training that they'd received. So before a couple of years ago, lots of veterans would come home, they would have gotten great training in the military, they'd come home and have to pay to get that training again in the civilian school to be able to get a job with it, whether it was, you know, the soldiers that were driving trucks in Iraq, getting shot at and driving around improvised explosive devices, you know, would come back, they were 20 years old, and the state of Ohio wouldn't give them a commercial driver's license. They'd have to go to trucking school to get a commercial driver's license. And if they were still 20 years old, they couldn't get insurance. And so therefore they couldn't drive a truck. And so they couldn't work, even though they did it while getting shot at and tried to get blown up. They couldn't do it back here in the States. And I can tell you, if you can drive a truck while you're getting shot at, you can drive anywhere, even Chicago. So, but there's lots of other folks that got training in the military and then had to come back and pay to get that training a second time. It just didn't make sense. So this required all the states and their certification processes to acknowledge military training and give people credit for it. And it's a big deal. And I know that Dwight's organization helps a lot with folks getting jobs. Thank you for that. The veteran unemployment rate is still higher than the unemployment rate at large. In Ohio's unemployment rate, 5.9% now, come down a lot since the pandemic, but still higher than we'd like it to. And I was talking to Mr. Hotley earlier, and you know, the good news is there's more open jobs in Ohio than there are people looking for work, but we still have a skills mismatch. And that's why it's great to have organizations like Tolls that are out there doing great training for folks and adults too. And they're increasing their support for adults, but our veteran unemployment rate is still higher than our unemployment rate as a whole. So we do need to work on that. And you know, the unemployment rate had gone so far down in 2020. It was at an all-time low before 2019, I guess, before the pandemic. And then in 2021 or 2020, the pandemic really came in, and unemployment went back up, and we still haven't gotten it quite under control. But that includes veterans too. But they're great employees because they understand two things. They understand teamwork and working together, regardless of what service you worked in. They can cross that divide, understand how to work together and get things done, and they understand mission accomplishment better than any employees I've ever hired. And I've hired veterans and non-veterans, and veterans are some of the best folks. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about the hire at home. Then I wanted to talk a little bit about, oops, I need to go backwards. I overshot it. Let's see if that works. There we go. Veterans mental health. We still lose way too many veterans. Or at least those points are really small. You probably can't really read them very well. I apologize about that. But we still lose 20 veterans a day by suicide. That's a shamefully high statistic. And I will tell you, it's a complicated issue because there's still a lot of pride in a lot of our veterans and our service members, and they don't want to go get mental health help. And there's a lot of stigma around it, and people believe it's going to follow them in their service record forever or follow them in their life forever. So they don't want to go get help. But you know, these are the same guys that if they got their arm broken in a training accident, they'd go to the Troop Medical Center and get their arm patched up and wouldn't think a thing about it. So we all need to work to break the stigma of mental health, not just for veterans, but for everybody. And I think it'll help reduce suicide. And it's something that we've got to talk about and help people understand that it's okay to ask for help. I mean, that's the other thing. Veterans are very proud and they don't want to ask for help, but we need to let everybody know it's okay to ask for help. And so I hope that we'll continue to do that. A bill that the president just signed, President Biden signed after I left Congress, is the last bill I passed, called the Pause for Veterans Therapy Act. It gets service dogs to veterans with post-traumatic stress. And there is peer-reviewed evidence that shows that this works really, really well at reducing the stress related to PTS. It improves overall mental health. It gives the veterans these dogs are highly trained. They do things like blocking maneuvers if somebody's getting in personal space of a veteran that maybe isn't at the time ready to have a personal interaction with somebody. they turn themselves into like a furry weighted blanket that removes anxiety and stress, and they'll lay on their service member. These dogs do amazing things. And until, gosh, a month ago, when the president signed it, the VA would only get you access to a service dog if you were blind or disabled physically, and they didn't look at post-traumatic stress as a condition that was eligible for a service dog. And a lot of private organizations over the last few years have really filled the gap and gotten service dogs to these folks. In fact, if anybody knows about companion or canine companions, which is now over in New Albany, they were up in Delaware County. They moved to New Albany a couple of years ago. They train service dogs for, you know, all kinds of populations, including veterans. It's an amazing organization. You guys should try to do some stuff with them. But the VA took a long time to study this problem. It took us about 6 years from when I started working on the service dog project, because the VA had a 1-year study that took 6 years. Everybody that's familiar with the VA, that is commonplace. So that's it took them 6 years to get their study done. Finally, they got their study done. Their study recognized what the other peer-reviewed research at Kaiser Family Foundation and at Purdue University had found, and that's that these service dogs make a big difference. And so it finally got signed into law. I'm super excited. The VA is now ramping up. We're going to be able to get these service dogs to veterans, and I'm convinced it's going to save lives. It was my goal to get it done last year before I left, or I guess in May of this year before I left. I wanted to get it passed by the House and the Senate before Memorial Day of this year. That didn't quite happen. The Senate passed it a little later, but then the Senate passed it in August and the president signed it in September. So but it's law now, and it's super exciting. And I am excited that it's going to help give a bunch of veterans their lives back, give them an opportunity to actually do things again. There was great testimony before the Veterans Affairs Committee in the House by a veteran that talked about, and he was a Vietnam veteran. It took him 35 years to get a service dog. And once he got his service dog, he was essentially homebound before that. He now goes out. He was my guest at the State of the Union a couple of years ago. This dog made a big difference in his life. He can travel, he can go out to dinner with his wife, he can go to a movie, he can go shopping. He couldn't do any of those things before. And so not only do these service dogs reduce stress, they actually give these veterans their lives back. So it's super exciting. I'm really excited that that happened. It was sort of the culmination of my career in Congress. And I'm glad that we got that bill done, and it's going to make a big difference. So thank you. I wanted to kind of talk about those things. I'm happy to talk. It doesn't have to be veteran related. I'm happy to answer questions on whatever's on anybody's mind. If you want to talk veterans issues or other issues, happy to talk about that. Someday I'd love to come back and talk about what we're doing at the Ohio Chamber of Commerce. We're putting together a thing that we call the Blueprint for Ohio's Economic Future. It's a 15-year legislative agenda. It'll take us about a year to put it together. It's research-based to make Ohio the most competitive state in the country and one of the most competitive places in the world to do business. I'm super excited about it, and I'd love to talk about that sometime too. Yes, Susan?
Last week we had a speaker talking about veterans and our police and firefighters that have at-risk situations as well, that are committing suicide almost every day as well.
Yes.
And Save a Warrior, is that something that you're working with as well?
So I've personally contributed to Save a Warrior, and they're working to, I think they bought a property here in Ohio that they used to do some stuff in California, and they've moved it to here. It's a great organization, and they take people through a program that both first responders and veterans and at-risk folks. It's a little more than a weekend, if I remember right, 72 hours, and it's a great program. So I totally support Save a Warrior. It's an impressive organization. that's making a difference in preventing suicides and, giving people a lot of their lives back as well. So a great program. I'm glad you had somebody here. Mike?
Just more of a comment, I guess, and a question, but as a disabled veteran who uses the VA system, it seems to me that the biggest problem with the system is not the VA. It's the lack of will on the part of Congress to fund the VA. You saw what they do, what they're required to do with the pharmaceuticals they issue, using generations old stuff instead of new stuff, simply because they got a budget that doesn't allow them to do what they should do. Everybody talks about supporting veterans. When rubber hits the road, it just doesn't happen.
That's a great point, Mike. And, I will say, because we have such overcapacity in healthcare, and Columbus is one of those places we don't have a VA hospital. There was some move to try to build a VA hospital here. I'd rather see our veterans here go to the hospitals in the community than force them into a VA hospital, because here's what I think is going to happen over time, Mike. As the veteran population continues to go down, and it is, and it will, because the draft, all the folks that were in the draft are dying off, and we're going to the volunteer force, and it's going to be a much lower number. There's not going to be enough veterans to support a lot of these VA hospitals, and the budgets are going to get shrunk, and they're going to have a harder time getting good staff and the same equipment. And I'd rather see our veterans go to the hospitals in the community, especially here where we don't have a VA hospital. I'd rather not have us not build one and let them go wherever everybody else goes, get the same exact care, have the VA pay. And a lot of our hospitals, Ohio State, Ohio Health, both are talking about building veteran wings and things so it can feel like a VA experience, but it's actually at a regular hospital that everybody else goes to. But I worry about your point of shrinking budgets. And, while I was in Congress, we increased the budgets of the VA, but maybe it wasn't enough. So I get your point.
I realize you got other competing interests too, but it's interesting for those that don't know. There is a program today where if you watch the James or the Chalmers Wiley Clinic or whatever it's called, and they don't have an expert on staff to deal with it, they will refer you.
Right. No, that they absolutely will.
Ohio State in particular are very common.
Yeah.
I know work.
They do. And one more question. Yes, and I think both of you guys had questions. We'll let you both go, and then I'll go quick.
I was just gonna say, what's the biggest change for you since moving out of Congress into the Ohio Chamber of Commerce?
So I'm 6 months in at the Chamber of Commerce, and the biggest change for me is I'm not on a plane every week. I'm not away from my kids 5 days a week. I was part-time. I was like a divorced dad, even though I've never been divorced. We were married, but I was in Washington 5 days a week. So I was away from my 12-year-old daughter and 8-year-old son 5 days a week. And that just, in the end, that's what brought me back. I was like, I want to spend more time with the kids, and I still get to do policy at the Chamber. It's great. And I still have to do fundraising at the Chamber, so that's great. But it's similar but different. And but I'm home, which is the big difference, and quality of life is much higher. I tell people I haven't been yelled at in a Chipotle in like almost a year now. Yes, sir.
You've watched Jon Stewart's new show. One of the episodes was about burn pit exposure. And it sounded just like the odds where he interviewed a high-level guy at VA, and they're studying something. Oh, they can't do anything. It's very unimpressive.
Burn pits absolutely cause cancer. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Whether it was a burn pit in Vietnam or Iraq or lots of other wars, we need to make sure we get the folks that had burn pit exposure the help they need. And the VA, I love the VA. It's they take care of, there's so many great people that take care of great veterans, but the bureaucracy at the Veterans Administration, and it doesn't matter if it's Democrats or Republicans in charge, it just takes so long to get stuff done there. That gets very frustrating for a policymaker like me when I was a policymaker. So I hope that I'm sure our new Congressman, Mike Carey, will get on it. I'll make sure to call him and yell at him about it, because I get to do that now too. So, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Steve. Amazing. I love that we get to learn so much from our speakers and to hear about the Pause Act and the Hire at Home Act. I mean, those are so important to all of us to continue to make our communities stronger. So appreciate your leadership in getting those things to happen. And really, push along the great research that's been done with how dogs can help people, right? It's really cool. So thank you so very much. Let's see, next week's speaker will be Candace Greenway. She's the executive director of the Heartland High School, which is an addiction recovery high school. I think she'll have a lot of really interesting comments for us. So before we head off to a wonderful weekend, beautiful fall weekend, I have a quote. However dark the night, however dim our hopes, the light will always follow darkness. With that, have a great weekend.
No, I am retired.